In the most holy name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, who came to us in the person of Master Farid Muhammad, to whom all praise is forever due. We thank him for raising in our midst the promised Messiah, the predicted Christ, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. We thank them both for their perfected representative and the one who is leading us in the fullness of time, in the fulfillment of God's promise to Abraham to deliver us from our oppressor with great substance. And I'm speaking of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. In those names I greet my beloved brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum. Brothers and sisters, you're looking at a new believer.
Yes.
I thought I was one, but I am one now. And I'm going to tell you what happened to me. and I will say this, that Minister Farrakhan said today, sometimes we drift away from belief, and we don't realize it. We just drift away. And when we're drifting away from belief, we don't respond properly to the directives of the Messenger of Allah. But have you noticed that this year, now you know the Nation of Islam plays everything close, okay? So every year it's like, when's Savior's Day? Where are we going to have it? So this year, the Holy Day of Atonement has been so elusive.
Yes.
And I'm bringing that up because there's a statement in the Holy Quran, they plan and Allah plans, and Allah is the best of planners. And I can bear witness to you that the Executive Council has tried since the end of Savior's Day to plan for the Day of Atonement. And it just didn't, it was so elusive. And we just couldn't pull it together where, when. And so at one point it was Birmingham. We were actually invited by the mayor of Birmingham to bring the Holy Day of Atonement there. And people went down and did reconnaissance, and it just, we no matter how hard we tried, couldn't pull it together. Then ultimately we said we're just going to stay home and have it in Chicago. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan speak from Mosque Mariam, have the believers relieved of traveling, then be able to prepare better for Savior's Day. And then about 2 weeks ago, without going into much detail, Detroit, Michigan came up. And I was like, what? Detroit, we were just there last year for Savior's Day. Now, so see, that thinking is secular thinking. Okay, when you start thinking, I was just there. I mean, so? What does that have to do with the fulfillment of prophecy and Allah's declaration that Detroit is the Mecca? It is the new Mecca of the new world. Okay? So we should be anxious to go there. But most of us don't find Detroit the most attractive place on earth. And we're not thinking in terms of, though I've said it out of my mouth, if we go there, and this is where Master Farid Muhammad came, this is where he met the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, this is where it all happened, okay? But even though I've said that, the world self came up and said, you know, like, I don't feel like going there. I'm not seeing it. And it's too late. It's too late to try to plan something for that. Well, to make a long story less long, Minister Farrakhan said, well, I want the Executive Council to all go together on a bus to Detroit and pursue this. And that's what we did yesterday. And by being together on that bus, it helped bond us. we were able to spend time talking about how this was going to go. In a way that if we weren't together on that bus for 4.5 hours, and you don't, you can't leave, and you can't step out and take calls. You can't go to your office. You can't go to Starbucks or somewhere. So you're there, and you're starting to feel the joy of doing God's work, because you're starting to think of what it is you're actually doing. You're planning a holy day in hell. Okay? And in the meanwhile, what everybody's looking, the hearings are taking place, the Kavanaugh hearings. And so we're watching the fall of America taking place. And when you look at Donald Trump, it's not Donald Trump when we say, in this group, I sat in on their discussion, awesome, brilliant discussion in the circle. Donald Trump is not the issue per se, it's America. What he does and says it's not so important what it reflects of him as an individual. It's what it says about a nation that would allow him to be its president. Because he is actually the quintessence of the white male mind.
That's right.
And the Bible said in the last days Satan would reveal himself.
Right.
Allah said, if it's under a rock, I will bring it forth. And that is what is occurring. So when we got to Detroit and we visited this venue, which is an outdoor venue. Now, mind you, it's October. It's already nippy out there, and it's more cold up there. But we're looking at the place, and when we pulled up to it, I'm like, is this some kind of industrial waste area? When they said it was an outdoor area, I'm thinking of like this Ravinia place outside of Chicago. It did not have that loveliness in any way, shape, or form. So, okay. But then I remember when I was taking dictation one time from the minister, and he said, he brought me over here to look at this, where we are now. And grass was growing up through the floors. And Mas Mariam. And he said, we're getting that back. And I'm looking at him like, why can't we just build something else? This is horrible. This is terrible. Okay, it's called lack of vision. But so we're walking around this place, and I'm like, I'm not seeing this, I'm not feeling this, and we're talking. And he said October the 14th. That's 2 weeks. Well, we started talking, and the people that run the place are black people. And they were so enthusiastic and so in love with the minister that and so excited of the idea that you couldn't help but feel it. So we said, okay, we're going to try to do this. Well, last night we met with community leaders and organizers. Brothers and sisters, there were brothers there from the Detroit Police Department in uniform, all right, with their guns, and they said, we love the nation, we love Minister Farrakhan, and we need his help. We want him to put the police out of business, all right, so whatever we can do. The place we had the meeting is the Roberts Hotel. The brother that owns that, Mr. Roberts, he and his brothers are billionaires. They own hotels and other businesses, but they're low-key. This brother stood up, and he's a warrior. He said, my hotel is not only black-owned and black-operated. I don't hire anybody but us. Okay? And where we are used to be the Omni Hotel, but they left in white flight. The place is nice, but he is upgrading it as we speak. He wants it to be what he called an urban resort for black people. but he hosted it. You had preachers there, you had politicians there, you had black nationalists there, you had black media there. And so we explained to them that the minister desires to come back to Detroit, the city where all of this began, and is the Mecca. And do you know, black people lined up because we told them the minister wants this to be free. He does not want to charge admission because he doesn't want anyone, especially our youth, to not be able to come and hear this message. Do you know those people said, well, if he's going, and we explained to them, we're trying to deal with the expenses. We didn't ask them for money. They jumped up out of their seats and offered money and offered to help raise money. This is the real black Detroit, the true black Detroit. And people lined up to make pledges, but in the course of their pledges, they were testifying to what the Nation of Islam means to the black community. And one brother wept and he said, if it were not for you, we would have been obliterated. One person said, you are our last hope, the Nation of Islam. It was beautiful, brothers and sisters, and so they're working now. Now, tomorrow we're hosting a town hall meeting on separation in Detroit at the Charles H. Wright African American Museum, and I asked Dr. Wesley to go for me because it's not possible with us having been there the last 2 days to do it. And I've already been told they're pretty much guaranteed. This seats about 300. It's going to be full. Why? Because our people are ready. But we have to be ready to be the leadership that they trust. They trust us to follow the directives of Minister Louis Farrakhan. That's what they need for us to do. But here's what made the hair on my neck stand up. Sister Medina Muhammad, who is the daughter of Mother Bernstein Muhammad, who was the secretary at age 17 to Master Farid Muhammad. She stood up and told us that the place where the minister is speaking, Master Farid Muhammad walked the streets of that area and knocked on doors. Many of those homes have been torn down. But that exact spot is where Minister Farrakhan will be speaking on the 14th day of October, the 23rd anniversary of the Million Man March. Now, during the course of the evening, and I just can't describe the energy, it was so powerful. Two people that spoke, only two out of the many that spoke, each made a statement. And they said, I love the minister, but I don't agree with everything he says. One sister said that. Then another one came up and made that same comment. Well, you hear that often, right? I don't agree with everything he says. That's disturbing because that's stating the obvious. No one agrees with everything that anyone says. We don't even agree with everything God says, because if we did, we would do it. We wouldn't be in a state of disobedience, right? We've looked at commandments and restrictive laws and said, well, why can't I do that? Why? I do the other stuff. So our mom, our husbands, whoever, there's no person on earth who we agree with everything they say. So why do you say that? Because you're leaving a door for white people when they say, we heard you were with Farrakhan. Well, I don't agree with everything he says. Well, at the end of the evening, Brother Ishmael said to Brother Mustafa Farrakhan, he said, brother, everything was happening like unplanned. I can't describe it. But you can see people like divine guidance come over people. Brother, why don't you get up and say something? It just came out of nowhere. So he said, sure. And you know how Brother Musa, he comes up with it, you know. And he addressed the group, and he's a very powerful speaker. And he was very brief, but at the end he said, there were several individuals who stated, I don't agree with everything Farrakhan says. And he said, let me say this. Okay? Stop being afraid of the enemy. He spoke right into it. That's fear of the enemy. And it was like watching a military commander prepare the troops for war. And so I'm saying all that to say this, beloved, because Sister Sandra raised the question about, are we going to separate in our time? We are separating right now. Right. The separation is actually occurring as we sit here. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us Allah will make you separate. He made us watch Bill Cosby and all that he has done for our people, get led away at the age of 81 with shackles. Why isn't Harvey Weinstein in prison? Why isn't Matt Lauer in prison? Why isn't this whole long list of old rich white men? And the biggest one who needs to be locked up is the President of the United States, who is a confessed sexual predator. So Allah is asking us, which way are you going to go? Number 5 of what the Muslims want. The reason we're doing these town hall meetings, it is time to decide. And that's what Brother Mustafa was saying to the people in that room. We can't have doubt. Can you imagine an NFL team get ready to go on the field, and one of the players says, well, I don't, we're getting ready to play the Chicago Bears, we're getting ready to play Seattle. I kind of like Seattle. What? Okay. I don't agree with everything the coach is saying. What? This, brothers and sisters, we're not in orientation anymore. We're on the battlefield about to run in. So this study guide, when it brings to the depth of our soul an understanding of the Holy Quran, this book, there is no doubt in it. When he says to us in a letter that the mastery of self will result in the complete removal of devil from this planet, then we should be found seeking to attain complete mastery of self. So I'm pleased to say we're going to Detroit on the on the 14th of October. And we're so blessed that we still have the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan among us. And may Allah bless us all with love and the light of understanding. I'm sorry I talked so long, but I leave you in peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Well, I'm sorry that you didn't continue to talk.